Slipping on a maiden day, the ports were far and few. Climbing up the jungle gym to steal a bird's eye view. Then I see a simple man all dressed in red and blue. Rock!
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a booger and a shooter and that shake it won't go down. Baby's got a booger and a shooter and that shake it won't go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Corrosion now, baby's got it.
Good morning, Vietnam and elsewhere. Wow, we got a packed house here today. All the hee-haw gangs here. So let's get to it. John Kemper in the house. What's up, buddy? Global Solidarity. Ed Heller is here as well. We got Max Sarjay. Around the World with D and Friends. Be sure to check out D tonight, I believe, 9 p.m. Eastern on your local YouTube. She has Around the World D and Friends, but she also has her own channel too as well. So we got Rick in the house taking an ice water break from his job at the moment. We're carrying signs now. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you. And Desert Mantis in the house. Desert Mantis, the talking wombat, became a Patreon member. So thank you. Appreciate that. And made it a little bit easier for you if you want to be a Patreon member. If you can't afford it, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, the free stuff. But if you want to be a Patreon member, we don't do anything fancy. You can donate as much as you want. You want to do $1, that's fine. So Desert, appreciate you. And you get your name up on in flashing lights and deliciousness. What's up, Teresa, over on the Rockfin? And we got Check the Alien on Rumble. We're hoping Rumble is a little better today. So I was doing a little tinkering yesterday with some kind of techie type stuff, and I look a little short. Let me get down here. I'm a stickler for making sure that the headroom is right. Old TV stuff. So anyway, hopefully everything works and we can get down to business and we can show you all the news for today. We did a little different lighting thing today too. So I still look dead, but like a fresh corpse instead of like maybe a couple days old. So progress. When you're a no melanin kind of guy, when all you can do is freckle and hope for the best. So stay out of the sun, but get a little bit, get that vitamin D. So, right. So, and also today is my middle sister, Laura's birthday. Lala, as she's known in the fam. Happy birthday to you. She's the middle sister, which is funny because it's funny how time works. When we were kids, she would always brag about, I'll always be older than you. I'll always be older than you. And now that we're both a little long in the tooth, it's more of a lament than a brag. She's like, I'll always be older. I'll always be older. That's right. I'll always be prettier. And that's all that matters. Speaking of which, I'm looking at that name. Look, I don't have anything ready. I'm such a fool. We got a lot of stuff. I started off the day with a whole bunch of stuff. Well, not a lot. I thought, okay, this is going to be a short show from last night, because I usually prep in the evenings for like some of the bigger stuff, and then I catch the late breaking stuff in the mornings. So there was a few things this morning. So what I thought was going to be a short show may be the longest one. So giggity giggity goo, giggity schmoigan. It's going to be another long one. So let's start off with monkeypox. You'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old monkeypox, Tennessee. I don't know if you know that song. That's a mashup. Mpox Shakur, as he's known. Thank you, Teresa. I'll be sure to let her know. The artist formerly known as monkeypox epidemic spreads to Sweden after killing hundreds in Africa. All right. So this was this image here. This was taken in the North Kivu province in the Democratic Republic of Congo back on July 19th. And this is a nurse taking a sample from a child possibly affected by the monkeypox. But I mean, it's fairly obvious. You'll see the pox. Mpox epidemic has killed 548 people in the Democratic Republic of Congo as Sweden announces the first case of the disease, indicating it spread to outside of Africa. Since the start of the year, the outbreak of the disease, previously known as monkeypox, has killed 548 people in Congo, its health minister said in a statement yesterday. According to the latest epidemiological report, try saying that 10 times, our country has recorded over 15,000 potential cases and the 548 deaths since the beginning of the year, Samuel Roger Kamba said in a separate video message yesterday. Kamba said all the 26 provinces of DRC, a nation with 100 million population, are affected by the virus. However, 8 provinces are the worst hit provinces. Sweden's public health agency confirmed yesterday that a variant of Mpox had been found in a patient in the capital city of the country. Epidemiologist Magnus Gilson said a person had visited the part of Africa where there is a significant outbreak of monkeypox-clad eye. I don't know what that is. The person who was seeking treatment in Stockholm was diagnosed with Mpox caused by clade eye, or L, I'm not sure what that is. A more contagious and dangerous variant, he said in the statement. It is the first case caused by clade eye to be diagnosed outside the African continent. He said the patient had received treatment for the disease. A surge of Mpox cases have been confirmed among children and adults in more than a dozen countries, and a new form of the virus spreading. Few vaccine doses are available on the African continent. The WHO, not that WHO, the World Health Organization, silly beans, on Wednesday declared the Mpox outbreak in DRC and other African countries as a global health emergency. Starting to have flashbacks. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, I'm sure that's how you pronounce it, made the declaration on the advice of an International Health Regulations Emergency Committee. Mpox, a viral disease, was first discovered in humans in 1970 in present-day DRC, formerly known as Zaire. The virus is transmitted through close physical contact with an infected human or animal. Earlier this year, scientists reported that the new deadlier variant of Mpox can kill up to 10% of those infected by the virus. Skin rash, fever, enlarged lymph nodes, and muscle pain are common symptoms of the disease. And of course, the pox part kind of looks like chicken pox. Don't want to ruin your breakfast, but that's pretty much what's going on. So, we've danced this dance before. So, and I know all my viewers here use their critical thinking skills. Just be aware that people in high places are going to exploit this as much as possible for their own nefarious needs, as they often do. So, as they say, stay frosty. And we'll continue to cover that as it progresses. Meanwhile, back here in the U.S. of A., the Pentagon is looking for some information on domestic military deployments. You heard that right. We are going to be the victims of our own foreign policy right here at home. This is the Military Times. Lawmakers push Pentagon for clarity on domestic military deployments. So this is from Military Times. A pair of Democratic lawmakers are asking senior defense leaders to clarify the rules for deploying military personnel on U.S. soil, amid increasing political rhetoric about changing such restrictions so that units can respond to immigration or protest problems. In a Wednesday letter to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Joint Chiefs Chairman General C.Q. Brown, the representatives, Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan and Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey, asked the leaders to clearly and publicly explain the limits of military use for domestic issues, calling it a matter, quote, essential to maintaining our democracy, quote, in the near future. We feel compelled to look ahead to decisions that you, as the most senior defense officials, may be called upon to make in the next 6 months, the pair wrote. These decisions will fall squarely into the constitutional roles that you swore to uphold, and we know you both respect. Wink. We are relying on you to preserve the system that our founding fathers designed. In their letter, Slotkin and Sherrill, which is also a great magician act at Caesar's Palace. Be sure to check them out. I think they have a residency there. Sherrill, a former Navy pilot, asked the military leaders for public assurances that the limits on domestic use of military forces are still in effect, and that federal laws prohibit any president from ordering troops to circumvent those rules for political purposes. Who might do that? They also asked for assurances from the Pentagon leaders that, quote, if a president were to issue such an unlawful order, you would refuse to carry out that order. Right. Defense Department officials declined comment on the letter, but said they would follow up directly with the two congressional offices. Sure. What the military can and cannot do on American soil has been a friction point among Republicans and Democrats in recent years, particularly concerning comments from Donald Trump during and after his presidency. Trump has suggested he would use active duty troops and guardsmen in the deportation of immigrants from America and said the military could be used as a domestic police force to respond to urban violence or public protests. I thought our current police force was military, since they have all the military equipment, right? In addition, officials with the Project 2025 Presidential Transition Project, which Trump has sought to distance himself from, despite having numerous connections to organizers, have suggested that the next president could deploy military personnel to fill domestic law enforcement roles across the country as he or she sees fit, right? Yeah. And a lot of people have been talking about that too, about using the military to round up. Let's be real. It's mostly protesters, right? And I mean, and so these local police departments who have like these tanks and stuff like that, you're like, well, wait a minute, what are you going to bring in the National Guard? How many troops are you going to need? It just sounds like to me that they're ramping up for something a lot bigger. They think that we're going to be en masse out in the streets pretty soon, like major. So they're trying to, I guess, prepare for that, which is going to be, it's going to be a shit fest, that's for sure. Meanwhile, in Arizona, this we did a story last week about Camp Lejeune, the was it the Marine base that had poison water from the 50s through the 80s, and they were settling lawsuits for that. And then of course in Hawaii too, with the naval presence there and the contamination water there. Well, Arizona joining the fun. This is from Responsible Statecraft, quincyinstitute.org. Department of Defense defies orders to clean up forever chemicals in Arizona. On top of that, the Pentagon is still using a fire suppressant with potential to further contaminate drinking water on bases. In order to have a healthy military, you have to make sure that, you have poison water, apparently. In Dr. Strangelove, the fictitious base commander Jack D. Ripper, and if you haven't seen Dr. Strangelove, it's so good, orders a first strike nuclear attack on the Soviet Union to enact revenge for contaminating American water to impurify all our precious bodily fluids. The film poked fun at rampant Cold War conspiracy theories about fluoridating our water supply, which, I don't know about that. But as it turns out, America's water was being contaminated, not by the Russians, but by the Pentagon. The Department of Defense ramped up its use of fire suppressant called AFFF, knowingly contaminating the drinking water of millions of Americans. Now the Department of Defense is refusing to take accountability. Oh, shocker. This week, the Air Force claimed it has no legal obligation to comply with an order from the Environmental Protection Agency in May to abate the threat of forever chemicals to the drinking water of Tucson, Arizona. The EPA order required the Air Force to create a system designed to treat high levels of per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, synthetic chemicals known as PFAS, that are linked to weakened immunity and other health risks in drinking water, estimated to cost $25 million. What? That's like one missile, right? You can't drop $25 million. Testing at the Tucson International Airport Area Superfund site has revealed PFAS levels of up to 5,300 times beyond the drinkable limit, which is likely to enter into the Tucson public water system, according to the EPA. These chemicals likely originated from the use of AFF at airports and military sites, such as nearby Davis-Monthan Air Force Base and Morris Air National Guard Base. The EPA also identified other chemicals that migrated into the groundwater from a weapons manufacturing facility just south of Tucson operated by RTX, formerly known as Raytheon. The Air Force is hoping to evade the EPA's directive by citing the Supreme Court's overturning in June of the Chevron doctrine, a longstanding legal doctrine that gave deference to regulatory agencies in interpreting gray areas in the law. But according to critics of the Air Force's maneuver, the enforcement of rules adopted by these agencies, as opposed to the interpretation of the rules themselves, was not covered by the court's decision. So, yeah. Deborah Ann Sivas, director of the Stanford University Environmental Law Clinic, told The Guardian that the Air Force is essentially attempting to expand the scope of the court's ruling to thwart regulatory orders not covered by the decision. The EPA noted in its May order that non-compliance could incur a civil penalty of nearly $30,000 a day, as well as civil lawsuits by private citizens. That's the one you got to worry about. It's the private. Pretty sure those local lawyers are going to be like, hey, were you poisoned in Tucson, Arizona? Call us at 1-800-888-GO-LAW. Yeah, that's just on our soil here. Meanwhile, there's more boots are going to the Middle East, and they are U.S. boots. As shocker, U.S. boosts military personnel in Middle East by 17%. What's up, Bella? Good to see you. Hey, Choosy. Good to see you as well. There's this nice lady. The United States is closely monitoring the situation in the Middle East in light of escalating tensions, the Pentagon said yesterday. Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh said the U.S. fortified its military force posture and capabilities across the Middle East to defend Israel, quotes, and U.S. forces deployed in the region, noting that the U.S. remains focused on de-escalating tensions in the region while also postured for deterrence and the defense of Israel. U.S. government also remains very focused on securing a ceasefire as part of a hostage deal to bring all hostages home and to end the war in Gaza, she added. Singh also refused to address the Pentagon's response to the Iranian retaliation against Israel, saying, what I can tell you is we've increased and enhanced our regional presence so that to send a message of deterrence. Yeah, that's not going to work. To send a message that we don't want to see this widen out to a regional war. And when it comes to attacks on our forces, you've always seen us take measures we need in order to respond. Yes, by bringing democracy, let's bring that democracy in here. She also reiterated the U.S. support of Israel, saying if the occupation is attacked, Washington would come to its defense, giving the example of Operation True Promise on April 14th. Tom Crossan, a Pentagon spokesperson, also revealed that 40,000 U.S. personnel have been deployed in the Middle East amid escalating tensions. Very dubious numbers, seeing how the number of dead Palestinians has risen to 40,000. There are approximately 40,000 U.S. personnel in the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility, when routinely there are approximately 34 in the region, according to Crossan. And there's probably more, too. So, beefing things up over there, because that's the thing. And Kelly, too. Hey, Kelly, good to see you. You were so far up there, I forgot that you were here. I'm glad you're here. In the daytime, she was wanting to get our nighttime show back on. But yeah, so that, I mean, what that sounds like to me is them sending more troops over there. They're looking for a big time response from Hezbollah and Iran, and Hamas too. And what they expect, they don't know, but they're throwing all these people over there. And of course, you put more people in the mix. That's no bueno either. But it's odd that the U.S. is still funding the killing and bombings of Palestinians, but they don't think they're gonna win against Hamas. So this is from Kyle Anselm from the Libertarian Institute, and congratulations to them. They made their goal of 60K for the summer, but if you can throw them a couple bones, they do good work, do a lot of good independent journalism, no slant. It's good stuff. So, according to the U.S., Israeli bombing Gaza will kill more civilians but not defeat Hamas. That's basic what everybody who is not the U.S. military has been saying this whole time. U.S. intelligence officials speaking with the New York Times said that Israel will not be able to defeat Hamas, and continuing to bomb Gaza will kill more civilians. Some national security officials expressed surprise at how much Israel has degraded Hamas over the 10-month onslaught, but acknowledged that the Israeli Defense Forces cannot prevent the Palestinian group's reorganization. You're talking about guerrilla warfare tactics similar to what was going on in Vietnam. They didn't defeat Vietnam. There was no way. You can't defeat entrenched guerrilla warfare like that. According to the Times, Israel has achieved all it can militarily in Gaza, according to senior American officials, who say continued bombings are only increasing risks to civilians. The report adds that several high-level officials traveling to the Middle East plan to tell Tel Aviv that there is little more Israel can accomplish against Hamas. Yeah, they're going to tell them that, but they're not trying to defeat them militarily. They're trying to wipe them off the face of the planet. That's what a genocide is. The current and former national security officials touted Israel's genocidal campaign in Gaza as surprisingly effective in degrading Hamas. However, the officials admit the IDF has been unable to destroy the tunnel network or keep Hamas from reestablishing itself after Israel forces withdraw. Hamas's tunnel network has proved much larger than Israel anticipated, and it remains an effective way for Hamas to hide its leaders and move around fighters, the Times continued. And even as the IDF has seized territory and killed Hamas fighters from north to south of the territory, they have repeatedly had to go back in as Hamas fighters regrouped. The American officials additionally said that the military operations have failed to achieve the primary goal of returning over 100 Israeli hostages who are still captives of Hamas in the besieged enclave. Washington is pushing Tel Aviv to negotiate a hostage deal with Hamas to free the captives, but Israeli Prime Minister and Bob's big boy stand-in, Benjamin Netanyahu, has refused any agreement that would see Israel pause its operations in the Strip. They don't want to stop because they want to kill everybody under the guise of everybody's Hamas. Look, that tree, Hamas. Look, that building, Hamas. Twin kids, Hamas. Everybody's Hamas. Just like everybody's Russian. You're either Russian or Hamas. And if you're both, lucky you. The Times report notes that the White House has pushed the IDF to use 250-pound bombs in Gaza. The U.S. has shipped Israel thousands of the munitions since last year, and the bombs have been used in several civilian massacres, including a strike on a school serving as a shelter in Gaza that killed over 100. So, yeah, we'll keep giving you these bombs, but all you're doing is just killing people. And the bomb makers who sell that shit are like, we don't care as long as you're still buying our shit. And that's basically how that works. So, meanwhile, journalists, including some of our pals over there at antiwar.com, are demanding that the U.S. impose an arms embargo on Israel, right? So this is from Middle East Eye. Over 100 journalists signed letter demanding U.S. impose arms embargo. Letter says U.S. State Department is abetting Israel's violent suppression of journalism by supplying it with weapons. From the no shit category, that's our top headline. Agua deliciosa. More than 100 journalists have signed a letter addressed to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken calling on the Biden administration to impose a ban on weapons transfers to Israel over its killing of Palestinian journalists in Gaza. The letter comes just over a week after Israel's military killed Al Jazeera correspondent Ismail Al-Ghul and his camera operator Rami Al-Rifi after striking their car with a missile. Since Israel began its war on Gaza last October, Israeli forces have killed more than 160 Palestinian journalists working out of the besieged enclave. As journalists, publications, and press freedom groups in solidarity with the courageous Palestinian journalists of Gaza, we call on you to do more to protect journalists and show unwavering support for free and independent media by supporting an arms embargo against Israel, the letter said. Israel's deliberate targeting of journalists follows a long-standing pattern by the Israeli government to suppress truthful reporting on its treatment of Palestinians and its war in Gaza. By providing Israel with the weapons used to kill journalists, the State Department is abetting Israel's violent suppression of journalism. Well, yeah, they don't have any weapons. What are they going to go after them with? Sticks, rocks? The letter was signed by 113 journalists, 7 press freedom organizations, and 20 news outlets. Middle East Eye reached out to the State Department for comment on the letter, but didn't receive a response by the time of this publication. Israel's war on Gaza began last October. And you know all that stuff. So, yeah, good on these journalists. I mean, maybe kind of a pie in the sky thing. I hope not. If it works, it works. That's great. But, you know, I will not be holding my breath on that. So, but we need to see more and more people speaking out against it. And more people in the streets. When you shut it down, people tend to listen to you. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. Yeah. So, apparently Israel had claimed they'd killed another military leader, but oops, that was incorrect. So, this is from the Cradle. Hamas confirms Mohammed Deif survived assassination attempt. So, Israel claimed that the Hamas military leader was killed in the strike on southern Gaza's al-Mawasi last month, which massacred dozens of civilians. But nope, he's still alive. A senior Hamas official said in an interview yesterday that the group's military leader, Mohammed Deif, whose death Israel announced at the start of the month, is in fact alive. He is fine, senior Hamas official Osama Hamdan said in an interview with AP on Thursday. What the Israelis did by mentioning his name was an excuse to justify the massacre because it was an ugly massacre and it was in an area which Israel has said was a safe zone, Hamdan said. Israel launched massive strikes on southern Gaza's al-Mawasi region on July 13th. The attacks, which targeted a designated safe zone, resulted in the killing of at least 90 Palestinian civilians and the wounding of hundreds more. According to details published by the New York Times on July 14th, the Israeli army, before launching the brutal strikes on July 13th, had spent weeks monitoring a villa in the southern Gaza Strip where it believed another top Hamas leader, Rafa Salameh, was hiding out. The Israeli army was hoping that Deif would show up at the villa and carried out the attacks after receiving intelligence that he appeared to be present. Tel Aviv said after the strike that Salameh's killing was verified, but that it was uncertain about if Deif, the main target, had been successfully assassinated. Yeah, so a lot of, and I don't know if that's like misinformation, but it just seems like even the communication structure in Israel is starting to go tits up too, because they don't know what's going on. Meanwhile, Hamas and Islamic Jihad have called for a popular uprising in after the deadly Israeli settler attack on the West Bank village. All right, so Palestinian Hamas and Islamic Jihad resistant groups have condemned an attack by illegal Israeli settlers on the village of Jit in the northern West Bank, where they killed a Palestinian and set fire to homes and cars belonging to other residents. Yeah. In a statement today, Hamas called for a popular uprising against the gangs of settlers. We mourn the heroic martyr Rashid Mahmoud Sada, who was killed by settler militias in the village of Jit. We affirm that this pure blood will not go in vain and will be a curse upon the occupying regime, the statement said. Earlier, Abdel Rahman Shadid, a Hamas leader, had stated that the Nazi occupation's aggression through its armed illegal settlers on the village of Jit, east of Qalqilia, this evening, along with the burning and abuse, is a part of a series of crimes by the occupation in the West Bank. Shadid called on Palestinians in the West Bank to, quote, further rise up against the occupation and its settlers and to confront their brutal attacks by all means possible. For its part, the Islamic Jihad resistant movement also condemned the attack by illegal Israeli settlers on the village, terming it a declaration of war on Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. The Islamic Jihad movement also urged all Palestinian residents of the West Bank to confront settler gangs and their crimes in defense of the occupied territories and the Palestinian nation. Yeah, so they need to rise up over there, because even though all eyes are on the Middle East and what's going on over there, there's not a lot of us that can actually do anything to help them right away. So they have to help themselves. I know that's kind of a shitty thing to say, but it's true. It's just like we have to do it here. Nobody's going to come and save us. We're going to have to be our own heroes of the story if we want change here. So we'll see what happens. We were telling you about how Israel's economy is going tits up the other day with the Fitch ratings. Their loan ratings are going into the toilet. But more bad news for Israel. This is from the Cradle. Israeli economy on the brink as it awaits retaliation from resistance axis. So people, I know a lot of people say, why haven't they attacked already? Why haven't they attacked? And what they don't realize is part of the game is the psychological mind fuck, right? You tell somebody, and it's not like it's a veiled threat. They know Hezbollah and Iran got some weapons that can do some damage, right? And them saying, yes, we will strike. You won't know when, you won't know where. And that's psychological warfare. And so it's also having an effect on the economy as well. So there's this guy, I don't know who that is, Finance Minister Beelzebub, Smotrich, whatever it's fuck. The Israeli economy is on the ropes as the country awaits retaliation for its attacks against Iran, Lebanon, and Yemen over the past month, according to reports in Hebrew media. These 2 weeks have exhausted the market, as some economic activities have been canceled, and another part has been reduced due to public fear, the economic affairs commentator for Israel's Channel 13 News said yesterday. Israel's tourism industry in particular has recorded massive losses due to the broad cancellation of flights by international airlines. Israel's education sector will also be severely affected if the wait continues into September, as institutions will have to, quote, maneuver within combat scenarios, according to the Israeli broadcaster. The Israeli economy has already taken several hits 10 months into the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza, with the most recent one being, as we told you, about the downgrading in their credit rating from Fitch and other financial services. Moreover, the country has seen an increase in suicidal situations, psychotic situations, and the use of dangerous substances among settlers over the past 2 weeks, health officials told GLC Radio. Yeah, right? Think about it. Like, say you're in your hometown or whatever. Because Israel's not a big place, right? It's not a big country, geographically, right? Right? So let's say you're at your house and this psychopath that has like this shotgun. He said, I'm gonna come over and blow your brains out. You're not gonna know when, you're not gonna know where. You call the police, you let them know, and then he's like, well, they haven't done anything, we can't do anything. And then you wait, and then you wait. And this motherfucker. This motherfucker's crazy, and he will do it. So that'd do something to you psychologically, that's for sure. During a speech earlier this month commemorating the late commander Fuad Shakur, who was killed by an Israeli strike in the southern suburbs of Beirut, Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah stressed that the long wait is part of the punishment and response. His comments were echoed days later by the leader of Yemen's Ansarallah resistance, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, who said that the response to Israel's bombing of Hodeidah port is inevitable. The Israeli army, after the dangerous escalation from its side, is in a state of great fear in every sense of the word, Houthi said, adding that the inevitable response to the Israeli aggression that targeted the fuel tanks in Hodeidah port is a must, and it is coming, God willing. Iran has also remained unequivocal in saying a response to the assassination of Hamas Politburo chief Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran is imminent. So yeah, they're just like, it's coming, motherfucker. Just like, whoop. Buddy Fiorella, Isabel, she posted this clip from Family Guy where Brian, he said, I'm gonna get you back. You're not gonna know when. You're not gonna know where. And the whole cartoon goes on, and Stewie's getting crazy. He's like, "Look, I'm punishing myself. I'm punishing myself." And then at the very end, they're walking along, and then Brian pushes him in front, Stewie in front of a bus. But you had to make him wait. You make him wait. You let him stew in those psychological juices. Oh my. And as somebody who has fucked with people over the years psychologically, because it's free entertainment for one thing, I know how it works. So, and it's definitely working now. So you remember the protests at Columbia University, and looks like their president, the backlash was a little bit too much for her. So this is back from press. Hello. Where are you? Wrong button. Sorry. Columbia University president steps down following backlash over Gaza protests. Protests work. You just have to be consistent. You have to keep doing it. I know it's tough, but it works. Columbia University's president has resigned after facing extensive criticism regarding her handling of pro-Palestinian protests on campus, which sparked widespread protests in other U.S. universities. So Manoush Shafiq announced her resignation in an email to the university community on Wednesday after a little more than a year on the job, becoming the third president of an Ivy League university to step down in the wake of campus protests over the Gaza war. The Gaza genocide. The university faced criticism for its heavy-handed tactics against pro-Palestinian students protesting the genocide in Gaza. Shafiq authorized New York police to move onto campus and break up their encampments, claiming the protesting students pose a clear and present danger to the substantial functioning of the university. Hundreds of faculty members issued statements condemning Shafiq's tactics and walked out in support of their students. Since then, Shafiq had come under growing pressure to step down over her role in the crackdown. Shafiq made her decision to resign public on Wednesday. She said she wanted to ensure that new leadership is in place before the upcoming term starts September 3rd, a date when student protesters have pledged to continue their demonstrations. It has been a period of turmoil where it has been difficult to overcome divergent views across our community. This period has taken a considerable toll on my family as it has for others in our community, Shafiq said in a statement. And turns out there was another story about this. She's already got a job in the UK where she was heading back to. So she said, peace out, home slice. I don't want any more of this. So Canada, right? We have Canadian viewers. We love our Canadian viewers, and I know you're not shit libs like these people. But Canada's been doing some sneaky stuff as far as like getting weapons to Israel, right? So this is from Al Jazeera. Palestinian Canadians sue Foreign Minister Jolie, or Jolly if you're happy, over arms exports to Israel. Sending military goods to Israel during Gaza war violates Canadian and international law, the lawsuit argues. I'm Melanie Jolly. I'm so jolly. Palestinian Canadians and human rights lawyers are suing Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly after exports of military equipment to Israel, which they argue violate Canada's obligations under domestic and international law. The lawsuit filed on Tuesday asks a federal court to order the Canadian government to stop issuing export permits for military goods and technology destined for Israel. It also asks the court to deem the issuance of such permits unlawful. Hey, what's up, Willie? Good to see you. We are seeking to hold Canada to its own standards and to its international legal obligations, said Henry Off. His last name's Off. Board member of Canadian Lawyers for International Human Rights, Claire, one of the groups involved in the case. We don't want the Canadian government to be contributing to the mass starvation and bombardment of Gaza. One way of cutting off Canada's contributions is by cutting off its military support to Israel, Off told Al Jazeera in a phone interview. Military exports to Israel have come under greater scrutiny since October 7th, when since all the bullshit happened. Claire wrote an open letter to the Canadian government in late January urging Ottawa to immediately halt all exports due to concerns the weapons could be used in human rights violations against Palestinians in the coastal enclave. Yeah. So, they love Nazis and they love sneaking weapons to Nazis, apparently. Oh, Canada, your maple syrup and your beer are so good. Why would you do something like that? Speaking of why would you do something like that? Was that Willie? You said Canada has gotten less progressive while pretending to be very edgy and progressive. Pretending is the key word there. You're absolutely right. Meanwhile, that whole Nordstream pipeline thingy was blowed up, and that little investigation starting to reap some interesting information here. This is Dave DeCamp from antiwar.com. Oh, did I do that right? Okay, good. Report says Zelensky initially approved the Nord Stream bombing. Initially, Russia says the West is trying to absolve itself of responsibility for the sabotage attack. A report published by the Wall Street Journal yesterday alleges the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, initially approved a plan to bomb the Nord Stream natural gas pipelines, which connect Russia and Germany. The report said Zelensky called off the plan after the CIA warned him not to do it. But General Valery Zaluzny, who was Ukraine's commander-in-chief at the time, went ahead with the sabotage attack anyway. In response to the report, and Germany issuing an arrest warrant for a Ukrainian suspected of being involved in the Nord Stream bombings, Russia suggested Western countries were trying to shift the blame. The West's key task is to absolve itself of any responsibility for sabotaging the Nord Stream, said Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova. Oof. Delightful. From Russia with love. Russia has previously blamed the U.S. and its NATO allies for the attack on the pipeline. Investigative journalist Seymour Hersh, as you remember, published a report last year that said President Biden ordered the bombing and that U.S. Navy divers planted explosives on the pipeline in June 2022, which were set off in September of that year. The U.S. also had a clear motive for the attack since it had been trying to stop Nord Stream 2 with sanctions for years. Yeah, they were very open about wanting to get rid of that thing. Hersh's report hasn't been confirmed by other sources, and since it was published, Western officials have been pinning the blame on Ukraine. Right? Their bitch. No, we didn't do it. Our bitch did it. According to the Wall Street Journal report, the explosives were planted on the pipeline by a group of 6 Ukrainians who rented a small yacht in Germany. The report said the plot was thought up in May 2022 by a group of Ukrainian officials and businessmen during the night of drinking. A lot of things come out of a night of drinking, that's for sure. Sources told the Journal that the sabotage team initially studied a plan to blow up Nord Stream that was drafted by Western officials and Ukrainian intelligence officials back in 2014, but it was too costly and complex. So I can imagine these Ukrainians sitting around and goes, "Hey, tell you something, we're going to blow up a pipeline." The report said the German investigation of the attack is now focused on Zaluzny, who is now Ukraine's ambassador to the UK. An attack of this scale is a sufficient reason to trigger the collective defense clause of NATO, but our critical infrastructure was blown up by a country that we support with massive weapons shipments and billions in cash, a very base German official said. A senior Russian diplomat in Berlin dismissed the German investigation, saying the findings were fairy tales worthy of Brothers Grimm. In response to the Journal report, Mikhailo Podolyak and aide to Zelensky denied Ukraine was involved in the Nord Stream bombings and pointed the finger at Russia, of course. It's that meme with the Spider-Man. They're all pointing at each other, right? You know, the Spider-Man memes, where they're all pointing at each other. Such an act can only be carried out with extensive technical and financial resources. And who possessed all this at the time of the bombing? Only Russia. U.S. has money too. We got to get cash, y'all. But wait, there's more. This is it's as Jordan is a cuck to Israel, Poland is a cuck to NATO. And well, oopsie sauce. Poland probably involved in Nordstream blast, says ex-German spy master. And there he is. Look at the German spy master. August Hanning has claimed that there appears to have been a secret arrangement between Kiev and Warsaw. Poland was likely involved in the underwater explosions that ruptured the Nord Stream underwater gas pipelines in the Baltic Sea in September 22, the former president of Germany's Foreign Intelligence Agency has claimed. Hanning also alleged that Warsaw has intentionally obstructed Berlin's investigation into the incident. No one has so far claimed responsibility for the blast, which brought an end to the supply of Russian gas to Germany via Nord Stream 1 and damaged the parallel Nord Stream 2 pipeline, Electric Boogaloo, which had never entered operation due to EU bureaucratic setbacks. In an interview with Die Welt on Thursday, Hanning says, "The way it seems is that it was a Ukrainian team that, as per the findings of the investigation, operated there. However," he added, "this was of course only possible with support from the land. When we look at the map, pretty evidently the Polish agencies were engaged here. And I think not only agencies, I think that this was an arrangement between people at the top level in Ukraine and in Poland," the former intelligence chief conjectured. He alleged that Warsaw might have provided logistical support to the suspected Ukrainian saboteurs. According to Hanning, these are decisions that were made at the highest political level, and I think that there was an arrangement between Vladimir Zelensky and Polish President Andrzej Duda. Duda, I'm going to blow up your pipeline, oh Duda, to carry out this attack. He claimed that Polish authorities let one of the suspects leave the country, even though Germany had already reached out to Warsaw requesting assistance in his capture. Warsaw didn't exactly promote the probe. On the contrary, crucial findings were withheld, as I have heard from investigative circles, Hanning told Die Welt. In short, Poland had no interest in the success of the investigation, and this is, of course, due to the fact that Poland was massively involved in the preparation of this attack, the former senior intelligence official claimed. He concluded that such attacks do not happen without massive state involvement, going so far as to allege that the Polish and the Ukrainian military played a big role, and intelligence services as well. CIA. You know that, yeah, CIA is always in the mix, right? Those guys like ants at a picnic. You can't get those fuckers out. Meanwhile, Moscow is talking shit about the U.S. as they should, calling them terrorists. Hell, their own people call them terrorists now. So this is from RT again. U.S. is legitimizing terrorism, according to Moscow. Washington's silence in the face of reports that Ukraine blew up the Nord Stream gas pipeline is a ploy, Russia's envoy to the U.S. has said. Look at that. That looks like somebody's high school picture. A very patriotic high school picture. Russia's ambassador to Washington, Anatoly Anatov, has accused the U.S. of trying to shift the blame for the sabotage of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines onto its puppets in Ukraine. U.S. National Security Council spokesman and one of the things that you can collect in those Pokemon Go things, John Kirby told journalists yesterday that he is not going to comment on the Wall Street Journal report alleging Ukraine's involvement in the Nord Stream attack. Antonov said in a post on Telegram today that Washington's reluctance to address the issue is indicative and amounts to latent legitimization of terrorism, even when it comes to the territory of their own allies, adding, in fact, the U.S. is writing a blank check for similar crimes in the future. The Wall Street Journal reported on Wednesday that the 2022 attack that ruptured the key energy infrastructure built to deliver Russian gas to Germany and the rest of Western Europe had been masterminded by a group of Ukrainian military commanders and businessmen. And that's interesting, too, as they're getting their ass kicked in the war. It looks like they're about to be beaten in this war. So, you know, they might as well dump the blame on those guys, right? According to the U.S. outlet sources, Ukrainian leader Zelensky had initially approved the operation. He reportedly later tried to call it off. And, we heard the story about that. So, and then there's this guy. I don't know who he is, but he looks sad. So, yeah. Russia calling bullshit on the United States. And speaking of bullshit, trying to double down with their Ukrainian bitches over there, Biden wants to send long-range missiles. I'm sure that'll be fine, right? Like that meme with the dog in the house on fire. This is fine. Dave DeCamp again from antiwar.com. Biden considering sending long-range cruise missiles to Ukraine. The Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile has a range of over 230 miles, but it's unclear if it can be fired by Ukraine's jets. The Biden administration is open to sending Ukraine long-range air-to-surface cruise missiles amid Ukraine's offensive in Russia's Kursk Oblast, Politico reported yesterday. The Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile, JASM, has a range of over 230 miles and would become the longest-range weapon the U.S. sends Ukraine if it goes ahead with the delivery. Sources told Politico that no final decision had been made as the Pentagon is trying to figure out if Ukraine's Soviet-era fighter jets could carry the powerful missile, which weighs 2,400 pounds and has a 1,000-pound warhead. Ukraine has received a small number of U.S.-made F-16 fighter jets which can carry the JASMs, but it's unclear when the F-16s will be put to use since only a few Ukrainian pilots have been trained. The U.S. is supporting Ukraine's invasion of Kursk by allowing it to use U.S.-provided weapons, including armored vehicles. The U.S. still says it's opposed to supporting long-range strikes in Russia, but it's unclear what the limit is. Ukraine is pushing for the U.S. to lift all restrictions on its use of U.S. weapons. And the U.S. insists it wasn't aware of Ukraine's plans to launch a ground invasion of Kursk, but President Biden said on Tuesday that U.S. officials have been in constant contact with Ukrainians about the assault. Of course they knew. Don't be stupid. Of course they knew. Biden, bitch. They all begin with B. So, we don't usually get into much of the Hunter Biden stuff, but I thought this was interesting. This is from Kyle Anzalone from Libertarian Institute. The White House suppressed docs showing Hunter Biden sought State Department help for Burisma. Right? So newly, this is from Wednesday, but I figured this would be pertinent with all this stuff. Newly released documents show that Hunter Biden sought to inappropriately benefit the Ukrainian energy company Burisma while his father was vice president. The records were suppressed by the White House. The files, obtained by the New York Times and reported on Tuesday, show Hunter sent a letter to the U.S. ambassador in Italy in 2016 requesting assistance for Burisma. At the time, Hunter was making tens of thousands of dollars per month as a board member of the Ukrainian energy company, a position he was handed in 2014, which is kind of interesting. I make tens of thousands of pennies on my side job on the corner. The diplomatic staff in Italy felt the request was not appropriate. I want to be careful about promising too much, an official based at the U.S. Embassy in Rome wrote. This is a Ukrainian company, and purely to protect ourselves, the U.S. government should not be actively advocating with the government of Italy without the company going through the Department of Commerce Advocacy Center. While the Times received records from the State Department, the outlet was not provided with the full text of the letter. The paper suggested the State Department may have more records related to Hunter Biden that it is withholding, also noting the documents it obtained were only released after President Biden dropped his re-election bid. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, Hunter Biden's fucked. He really is. Now that daddy's not going to be president again, he better start liking Kamala or Trump, whoever wins. Whoever the powers that be allows to win, I should say. Abby Lowell, a lawyer for Hunter, claimed nothing untoward took place. Untoward. That's a fancy word. Maintaining he merely, quote, asked various people to arrange a meeting with the governor of Italy's Tuscany region where Burisma was pursuing a geothermal project. The White House claims President Biden was not aware of Hunter's outreach to the embassy in Italy at the time, according to the Times. And that's fair enough, because Biden's not aware of anything these days. But much less his kid getting in trouble. I'm pretty sure that shit he wants to forget. So we switch to our southern hemisphere, and you know the trials and tribulations that's been going on in Venezuela over their recent presidential election. Right, everybody wants a piece of it. It seems like everybody's got some sort of iron in the fire, as it were. So this is from the People's Dispatch. Via antiwar.com. They usually, when you get some of the stories you get off antiwar.com, they'll do some like mainstream and some of these other sources too, which it's kind of cool. So you get to know more sources. More sources of information is a good thing, especially if they're consistent and particularly if they're correct. So President Maduro has responded to Lula and Petro's call for redo election. We are a sovereign country. Following declarations from the Brazilian and Colombian heads of state, Nicolas Maduro told the media that Venezuela is a sovereign country and the decisions about the country would be made by its institutions. Maduro told media outlets on the evening of October 15th, that was yesterday, that he rejects calls for redo elections by his counterparts in Brazil and Colombia. He declared that Venezuela has the sovereignty of an independent country with a constitution, it has institutions, and the conflicts in Venezuela of any kind are solved among Venezuelans with their institutions, with their law, and with their constitution. Because, you know, the United States and other places in cahoots with the U.S. have been trying to coup him out of existence. Game.film, what's up, man? Happy Friday. Happy Pizza Friday to you, too, as a matter of fact. Hey, Kate, good to see you. The older I get, the more difficult it is for me to get rolling in the morning. You and me both, lady, but you're still hot, so, you know, keep that up. So his statements came hours after the heads of state had declared through different channels that the solution to the problems facing Venezuela following its presidential election on July 28th would be to create a government of cohabitation with the right wing or to hold redo elections. Their statements were a sharp contrast to their earlier position wherein they called for respect to Venezuela's sovereignty and democratic processes and to wait for the decision of its competent institutions. Wonder what changed their mind? United States. On the same day, Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador said in his morning press conference that he rejected calls for redo elections. Let's see what the court decides. I do not think it is prudent for us from the outside, a foreign government, whoever it may be, to give our opinion on something that should be resolved by Venezuelans. Durr. Captain Obvious there, but, you know, he dead on. So they're now they're trying to get him to do a redo election, right? And they're getting who was it, Brazil and Colombia. Come on, man, just redo it, man. Everything will be good. You know, come on. Dumbasses. China, I know, king of segue. So China is, I think they're playing the psychological mind game as well, but they're doing it through death by 1,000 cuts, it seems like. So this is from USA Today, U.S. News and World Report. China will limit exports of antimony, a mineral used in products from batteries to weapons. China says it will restrict exports of a mineral used in a wide range of products from batteries to weapons. It's a big-ass picture of something. China's Commerce Ministry announced yesterday that it will restrict exports of antimony in a wide range of products from batteries to weapons. Export controls will be placed on it starting September 15th to safeguard China's security and interests and fulfill its international non-proliferation obligations, the ministry said. Anyone wishing to export the mineral in various forms will have to apply for a license. It wasn't immediately clear to what extent exports would be blocked, though the non-proliferation wording suggested it could include weapons-related uses. A brief explanation issued by the Commerce Ministry said exports that comply with regulations would be permitted, but that the government opposes any country using items from China to, quote, engage in activities that undermine China's national sovereignty, security, and development interests. And basically, they're saying, we're not going to give you the shit to make weapons to use against us. It did not say what those activities might be, but you know what they are. The controls also cover smelting, whoever smelt it dealt it, and separation technology and machinery and other items related to what the notice called super hard materials. Giggity. China imposed export curbs last year on gallium and germanium, two metals used in computer chips and solar cells to safeguard national security. The U.S. has restricted China's access to advanced semiconductors and other technology on security grounds. So China is a major producer of antimony, and some U.S. policymakers have worried about being overly dependent on China as a source. You think? You mean like for the last however many decades? The minerals uses include flame retardants, batteries, night vision goggles, and nuclear weapon production, according to a 2021 U.S. International Trade Commission report. So yeah, China says, no dice, precious. You ain't getting our shit no more. So you can just turn around and just blow us away with it potentially. In other places around the world, we have to worry about kind of Nazi type behavior. And seems like the German police are getting a touch of nostalgia. Those Germans, they're crazy. German police to secretly search homes. Critics have voiced concerns over Stasi-style surveillance methods. These guys. The German Federal Criminal Police Office, BKA. Wait a minute, there's no BK or A in any of that. How is that? Anyway, may soon be allowed to secretly enter and search homes, according to a draft reform proposal seen by Der Spiegel and R&D. According to the document, police would also have the power to install spyware on suspects' computers or smartphones, in addition to conducting covert searches of their homes. These powers would supposedly only be used in exceptional circumstances, right? The Interior Ministry has defended the initiative, claiming that the BKA plays a central role in countering international terrorism threats. It's for your safety. All these freedoms you're giving up, it's for your safety. I hope it's worth it. A spokesperson refused to discuss details of the proposal, which is still at a very early stage, but told Der Spiegel on Wednesday that security agencies must have the necessary powers to effectively counter evolving threats. Kind of sounds like the Patriot Act. Critics have voiced concerns that such far-reaching interventions could undermine the rule of law, as the inviolability of the home, that's an interesting word, is enshrined in Article 13 of the German Constitution. Unless there is an imminent threat, the current process for the searches requires a warrant from the prosecutor's office, which police must inform the person of specific suspicions and the purpose of the search. Warrant, they're so cute. The Free Democratic Party does not support Stasi 2.0, Bundestag member Manuel Hofferlin said, referring to the notorious State Security Service of East Germany. While he acknowledged the need for adequate and powerful investigative tools, he noted that the secrecy surrounding searches was very concerning. The German Association of Journalists, DJV, again, has also come out strongly against the plans, with federal chairman Mika Buster warning that journalists and whistleblowers could be affected by secret break-ins reminiscent of methods used by police states. Meanwhile, the vice chair of the Greens in the Bundestag, Konstantin von Notz, has defended the plans, arguing that in these serious times, the BKA needs modern investigative powers and resources. AKA, let's bring back fascism. You remember fascism, Germany? Remember you had that shit? Remember that? You still do? So last week, we were talking about Google and their search engine monopoly, right? So now there might actually be consequences. I mean, don't hold your breath, but at least they're talking about it. So U.S. weighs Google breakup following illegal monopoly ruling. So, a week after a judge determined that Alphabet's Google had illegally monopolized the online search market, the U.S. Department of Justice is exploring options that could include breaking up the $2 trillion tech giant, according to reports from the New York Times and Bloomberg. One frequently discussed remedy among Justice Department attorneys is the divestment of Google's Android operating system. Officials are also considering the potential sale of AdWords, Google's search ad program, and possibly divesting its Chrome web browser. A Justice Department spokesperson stated that they are reviewing the court's decision and will determine the appropriate next steps in line with the court's directions and the legal framework for antitrust remedies. No decisions have been made yet, and a Google spokesperson declined to comment. Google plans to appeal the ruling and faces another antitrust lawsuit by the DOJ set to go to trial next month. Some of you oldsters out there probably remember Ma Bell back in the day. I believe it was in the 70s when they, hey Miguel, good to see you, buddy. They broke up Ma Bell. And that was the last real, like, I think maybe Enron was another one, but Ma Bell was the one that was just like this huge corporation, and they ended up breaking them up. So $2 trillion, Jesus Christ. That is some fucked up shit. I decided to throw this in here because this kind of shades of Julian Assange. If you guys know who Kim.com is, if you like him or not, that's not what we're here for. We're just here for the news. So if you have any opinions on him, whatever. But this has been going on for a while. And now it looks like he's going to be extradited. So mega upload creator Kim.com to be extradited to U.S. from New Zealand. Washington claims that by encouraging users to share pirated content.com and 3 other mega upload administrators caused more than $500 million in harm to record labels and film studios. And there's the gentleman right there. After a 10-year legal fight, the government of New Zealand signed extradition orders for Kim.com, the inventor of mega upload, paving the door for his prosecution in the United States. The online entrepreneur has been accused by the U.S. of a number of crimes, including conspiracy to conduct copyright infringement, racketeering, and money laundering. Oh, that's what the U.S. does. I guess they don't want competition. .com has maintained that his business is not responsible for the actions of its users. Justice Minister Paul Goldsmith said yesterday, "I considered all the information carefully and have decided that Mr.com," I can't do a New Zealand accent without going into Mayor Quimby, "should be surrendered to the U.S. to face trial." Added, "As is common practice, I have allowed Mr.com a short period of time to consider and take advice on my decision. I will not therefore be commenting further at this stage," wrote Quimby. Earlier this week, .com posted on Twitter, presumably aware of the decision, saying, "The obedient U.S. colony in the South Pacific has decided to extradite me for what users uploaded to Mega Upload." The tech executive, who was born in Germany, founded Mega Upload in 2005 and relocated to New Zealand 5 years later. The website, which made it simple for users to upload and distribute content, was eventually seized by the FBI in 2012. Washington has claimed that by encouraging users to share pirated content, .com and 3 other mega upload administrators caused more than $500 million in harm to record labels and film studios. Aw, sad face. .com has been a vocal supporter of free expression online and the founder of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. The accusations leveled against him have been characterized as weaponized lawfare and politically motivated. .com contended in 2017 that regulations in New Zealand expressly state that a platform cannot be prosecuted for the conduct of its users. .com referred to the 2020 court decision as a mixed bag since it limited 4 defendants' abilities to be extradited to face copyright infringement charges rather than money laundering allegations. Yeah, so I don't know if you, like I said, I don't know if you follow that cat right now, but that's the latest on what's happening with him. And yeah, trying to get them extradited to the United States. Don't be taking our money. So we're going to venture east out into the Atlantic, where It's another week and it's another hurricane. Yay! So Ernesto, we told you about Ernesto Wednesday, heading towards PR and the Virgin Islands, both U.S. and British. And now at the time it was a tropical storm, I believe, and now it's full-blown pooper scooper. Growing Hurricane Ernesto bears down on Bermuda. Keep your shorts on there, folks. Hurricane Ernesto picked up steam as it approached Bermuda on Friday. With forecasts, it could become stronger before threatening landfall, according to the National Hurricane Center. As of NHC's 5 a.m. advisory Friday, the center of Ernesto was located about 320 miles southwest of Bermuda, with maximum sustained winds of 100 miles per hour as it moves north-northeast at 13 miles per hour. Hurricane force winds extend out 70 miles, and tropical storm force winds extend out 270 miles. That's the current path right there. The system grew into a Category 2 hurricane since yesterday and is forecast to intensify more today with 105-mile sustained winds and 120-mile-an-hour gusts, and remain a Category 2 hurricane throughout the weekend, right? So, and this is where it's at right now. You can see, again, like when you look at these storms like this, it's not really going to affect the United States that much. But at the same time, these storms have a tendency to make a turn, an unexpected turn. But with meteorology today, it seems like they have a better idea of where these things are headed. So, as you see, this is how it looks right now. Bermuda getting hammered with a lot of rain and wind. So I think, and if anything, it looks like by Monday it should be up around Halifax, Nova Scotia. So our buddies up there, be careful. There's a hurricane coming, right? Finally, well, getting close to the end here. I told you it's going to be a long show today, y'all. I started off with like 15 stories and it ballooned up to like 30. So my apologies, but appreciate you sticking around. There's people stranded in space, y'all. You know, commercial space travel, it's not like the Jetsons. It's not like 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's more like alien commercial air traffic. Yeah. So NASA to decide how to bring home stranded astronauts by the end of the month. Barry Wilmore and Sunita Williams were stranded after problems emerged with Boeing's Starliner spacecraft. You may have heard about that. NASA said it will decide by the end of the month how it will bring home 2 astronauts stranded at the International Space Station when their Starliner spacecraft malfunctioned. Barry Butch Wilmore and Sunita Suni Williams took off for the ISS on June 5th as the crew on the Boeing-built Starliner's first crewed flight. They were meant to be in space for 8 days, but found themselves stuck on the ISS after Starliner's thrusters malfunctioned. There's a shock. Boeing? Wow. Who would have figured? At a news conference on Wednesday, NASA said it was still analyzing thruster data, but would need to make a decision soon. The thrusters are crucial for holding the capsule in the right position when it descends from orbit. We're reaching a point where the last week in August, we really should be making a call, if not sooner, said Ken Bowersox, Associate Administrator of NASA's Space Operations Mission Directorate. Safety Chief Russ DeLuch added, "We don't have enough insight and data to make some sort of simple black and white calculation. NASA needs to decide whether to use a Starliner or a spacecraft from SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk. If the space agency chose SpaceX, they could potentially lose their scheduled Crew 9 mission to the ISS on September 24th with just 2 astronauts rather than the usual 4. Look at that hair. That's crazy. Yeah, so stuck in space. Oops. Nobody, you never figure about that. You figure out, but get up and come down. It's all gravy, right? You've seen it done a million times. But you add capitalism into the mix. Yeah, exactly, Kelly. I know, right? Who'd have thunk it? Gosh and golly, that's just crazy talk. Somebody's drinking their medicine. you've been seeing a lot of simplistic explanations for people's reasons to hate other people, right? Everything's either Russia's fault or it's Hamas's fault, or you're anti-Semitic, right? That's the new one, or the newish one. So, and it kind of filters into Hollywood too. So let's watch some propaganda.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media. Unfortunately, some members are use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
I don't know if you follow this guy, Adam Media, on Twitter. He usually has some pretty good stuff on here sometimes. So this is funny. This is from Erica LeBon. I'm not sure which magazine or newspaper, whatever this is. The boycotting of Gal Gadot isn't anti-war. It's anti-Semitic, anti-progressive, and anti-human. So if you don't know, she's playing like in the new Snow White movie. She's playing the Wicked Witch, which is kind of funny. But you know, they're can you boycott a movie because it sucks? I mean, why can't you just boycott a movie because it sucks? But no, it's but she former IDF, I think. Wasn't she in the IDF? I could be wrong about that. Don't take me to task if I am wrong, but I just thought this was just wild. This is just one of many types of propaganda you're going to see. Just try to get you to shut up. Yipper, what is going on? I blame China. Panda Express, what is it expressing? The end of America. Panda Express. You can't pass a Panda Express without smelling orange chicken for like 3 blocks. I'm going to tell you that right now. So, as always, stay frosty. Watch out for propaganda because you're as they said in the palm olive commercials, you're soaking in it. So, finally, a little local flavor. You know, the DNC starts on Monday, and yeah, so they're getting ready for that this weekend. This is from ABC7 here in Chicago. 69 degrees. Right on, right on. DNC organizers unveil stage podium inside United Center as convention approaches. So the DNC, the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, 3 days away. Volunteers are getting ready to welcome thousands of visitors. Let's watch.
Hey, Terrell and Tanya, good morning. It is hard to believe we are just a few short days away from the start of the Democratic National Convention. Volunteers and delegates are converging on Chicago, amping up excitement ahead of the convention. The arena inside the United Center is ready for prime time, with the Windy City about to be the center of attention for Democratic politics. Organizers unveiling the stage and podium in preparation for the convention. A DNC volunteer appreciation rally was also held last night at Wrigley Field, giving organizers an opportunity to rev up the thousands of people ready to make the DNC a reality. A chairperson for the DNC host committee says volunteers range in age from 16 to 102. Volunteers shared why they wanted to lend a hand and what they're going to be doing.
I thought it would be a great opportunity to help people see the best side of Chicago and to feel welcome and included and feel safe. I'm going to be at Chicago Midway doing the VIPs that's coming in, greeting them off the airplanes. That's what I'll be doing.
Some local businesses near the United Center are also making their own preparations ahead of the DNC, boarding up windows in case of any unrest. Chicago Board of Services says it's been quite busy getting businesses ready. Now, more than a dozen businesses are taking these extra precautions, mainly in the West Loop, downtown, and around the Daily Center, with more businesses likely to take similar measures.
That's right. That's right. And with that, the legal battle continues between the city of Chicago and groups planning to protest during the DNC. So the buildup leading to the DNC comes amid the legal battle between the city of Chicago and groups hoping to protest during the Democratic National Convention. The city's decision on the protest restrictions is being questioned not just outside of City Hall, but also in court. A federal judge held a hearing yesterday with both sides, but no final decision was made, and another hearing will be held today. Organizations planning the DNC protests said the city is allowing its members to protest, but has put in place what they're calling unreasonable conditions that make it impossible for their messages to be heard. The latest controversy comes days before the start of the DNC, while the biggest issues that protest groups have been demanding for months have now been resolved in their favor. They believe it's still not enough. They're insisting that their right to have their voices heard is being diminished by the city. Aldermen and activists representing a coalition of community groups set to march on the DNC next week gathered in front of City Hall yesterday morning and again yesterday afternoon, upset over the city's decision to deny them the ability to set up stages, a speaker system, portable toilets, and other amenities at Union Park, the near West Side location where tens of thousands of protesters are expected to gather on Monday and then again on Thursday. We're not here to beg for that right, said Frank Chapman with the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Oppression, or NARPO. We're here to demand it. Those who are in power, they need to hear our demands. In a letter from the Chicago Department of Transportation to protest groups sent Wednesday, the city approved their permit requests to rally at both Union Park and Park 578, which is just blocks from the United Center, and within sight and sound of those gathered inside. For months, that request had been organizers' main point of contention as the city sought to have them rally miles away in Grant Park. That changed last month when Mayor Brandon Johnson's office ordered an alternative 1.4-mile parade route that starts and ends at Union Park. Late Monday, a federal judge ratified that route, despite calls from protest groups to lengthen it. This latest point of disagreement stems from organizers' desire to rally at both parks set along the route. So far, the city has only committed to installing a stage and sound speaker at Park 578. So yeah, and as far as the convention is concerned, me and my buddy from Chicago Corner, Jerry Vassalatos, are going to be out about talking to people, protesters, maybe other folks as well. It's going to be kind of a learning curve for us because we're really not quite sure where a lot of these people are going to be, but we're going to do our best to get some stuff. I don't know if we're going to do anything live out there. Probably won't have the ability to do that right away, but hopefully we'll get some stuff in the can, get some interviews with people, and be able to share it with you here on this wonderful channel that you folks seem to be watching right now. So hopefully I'm not hallucinating. And if I am, I should really take those drugs again because they're pretty good. So, but that's going to do it for today. And we have a good crowd in here. Appreciate all y'all showing up over here. Hopefully Rumble was behaving itself today. I hope all the fixes worked. We seem like everything was good on this end. You know, trying to make things better quality, better foods, that kind of thing. Dramatic national convention. Yeah, exactly, Miguel. Yeah, it's going to be silly, right? I mean, she's already got the nomination. There's not going to be any kind of, you know, people rising up to challenge her and stuff like that. So, but if you're going to be out there, if you're in the Chicagoland area and you're going to be out there yourselves, please be careful. Don't assume that what you're doing is legal in the eyes of these military police that are going to be out there. And I say military police in the sense that they're pretty much militarized. So, other than that, have a great weekend. I know I threatened to do gaming on the weekends and then somehow it doesn't pan out, but we'll try to do it again this weekend. And we'll be back on Monday. So have a good weekend. Thank you again. If you want to, like I said, tonight we're going to have, I think Willie's going to be on 8 p.m. Eastern, the Willie Bragg Show. And of course, Around the World, D and Friends at 9 p.m. Eastern on your local YouTubes. Be sure to check that out. If you want to support the channel, please, like, share, and subscribe. Nice to get more people in here. So if you want to subscribe, it's free. There's ways to support the show financially. That's all in the description down below. If you want to be a Patreon member, $1 a month, $12 a year, you get your name on a crappy little TV show, and all is good. So that's the dream, right? To get your name on TV. That was always my dream, and now that I can do it myself, it's rather. Oh yeah, so yeah, let's talk about this real quick, Miguel. I guess they've been having some issues time wise. So I think they're supposed to be having it on the 20th, which is Monday. Is that Monday? No, it's not Monday. I don't know my. Let me look at my calendar here. Let me look at my. Tuesday the 20th. So, heavens bless Chicago. It's about time. All right. Yes, bless you, folks. Have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. Don't join the cults. Keep your critical thinking skills sharp as a Ginzu knife, because people are always going to try and play you. But not here. We're just trying to give you information, a little bit of fun at the same time, and hopefully enjoy it. So tell your friends if you got any. If you don't have any, be a nicer person. Get some friends. We will see you on Monday. Peace out, home slice. Word to the mother.
This is City Alpha 5! Damn good song, wasn't it, dog? You like that song? All right.